by the time I was 21, I had worked more than some people had worked by the time they were 30. Because I started so young.
You had work ethic, you had experience.
Yeah, and I just was tired, so I just started the things I couldn't do as a kid,
Right, I
as
get
a
it.
young person. As soon as I got introduced to having fun,
Right,
it
I
was
get
just
it.
going to the club.
Yeah.
It was like, this is it.
The beautiful, the one, the only councilwoman member at large,
Yeah.
Louise Scott-Rountree,
Yeah.
otherwise known as...
Reverend Louise Scott-Rountree.
It's been a while,
Yes.
been a minute. How are you?
I'm
How are you?
great. I'm great. I know COVID separated us
Oh my
for a
God.
minute. But we had such great relationships. I'm just so excited about what God is doing in the city and the state and the country and the world. Knowing that peace is a good segue to us being successful at all we do.
Word is, in general, right? I'm hearing that peace is not a topic that a lot of people are talking about in general. And so coming in here into this room in the context of peace starts with me, we're finding a lot of people enjoy having a conversation
Yes.
about peace.
Yes.
Now, you and I met, what was it, 2018?
Not was it
2019?
2017? No, let's
Did
start
we
with
meet
Madison
from
Square
Madison?
Garden.
Did we? Okay.
So I actually, this is amazing because Curtis Farrow was working on a choir for Madison Square Garden.
2017, July.
2017, and he came to a couple of my meetings with the clergy to solicit, encourage, and
Singers.
ask singers to come to be a part of the choir. I wasn't able to go to Madison Square Garden, but I was able to open up the floor for Curtis to be able to, Emmy Award-winning brother of the Gospel Fest, who is an intricate part of the Peace Starts With Me movement.
Very much.
Speaking to the clergy. Let me just parenthetically pause there for a minute just to say, I tell people all the time that my religion is personal, but my mission is humanity. And in order for you to even have a spirit of knowing that your mission is humanity, there must be a sense of peace within you, no matter what's going on around you or in you. And so, of course, having that conversation, people draw their conclusions about various groups of people. They draw their conclusions about the Muslims. They draw their conclusions about Christians. They draw their conclusions about all
throughout history.
All throughout,
All
from
over
the
the world.
beginning of time,
Yep.
there has been various conversations about different sets of groups. There were different sets of groups in the beginning of the Bible. There was, how do we get certain names, Jehovah? How do we get certain names
Right.
that God was called? Well, there were a group of people,
Right.
and they
And
were
with
walking through.
with every new step, there's
There was
going to
a
be
new-
there's going to be some
And
counterplay.
Exactly. So in 2017, when he came to the Newark Interfaith Alliance to talk to him about joining the choir, there was some conversation with people saying...
About that, yeah.
Yeah,
What
they were
about-
saying...
or what are we
no,
getting
they
into?
were actually focusing on the group of people,
Right.
and not the mission of the
Interesting.
ministry.
Right.
And what I explained to them is, if I can have a different group of individuals sitting in a room having a conversation, one more should not make a difference because we're all part of humanity.
Right.
And we all have something to offer. And when somebody's talking about peace, come on. People have, Christians have had issues with people calling, with the Muslim community calling God Allah.
Yeah.
Okay. How many names does God have?
Too many.
Okay, absolutely. So the truth, and a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
a lot.
So my thing is, we've got to take our focus off of our personal and think about the greater body of what's going to help us come together with things that's going on all over. We got 30 some odd wars going on all over the country. And we sit here worried about me having a conversation.
Which brand of peacemaker?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm gonna work
I did
with.
a resolution on world peace because people were talking about doing a ceasefire resolution. And I'm like, I can't focus on just one incident because...
You go all the way. Well, there's two things there, world and peace, because a ceasefire is not peace. So you're talking about peace, but you're going...
Absolutely. And we're not going to stay there too long because that'll bring about a whole bunch of other conversations. But I wanted to point that out because the whole world needs to focus on how can we, and we're not going to fix this, by the way, it's a God thing, but how can we get the mindset to understand what peace really is and where does it begin? Well, you got the perfect answer. Peace begins with us.
It doesn't start with me, then
exactly.
I'm
Peace starts with
waiting
me.
for somebody else.
Exactly.
So you're reminiscing about 2017.
Yes.
Curtis
I can go
Farrell.
to 2018.
A. Curtis. He put the choir to. You know how many days he had?
Not many.
Well, he made a 2,000 voice choir
I know.
in less than 10 days.
I know that.
And you were instrumental in it. Thank you for opening the door.
There was
opening
another
the
choir.
floor.
You did another one.
Oh, we
at the
did many
Prudential
more.
Arena.
We did many more.
Remember the Prudential Arena?
Yeah.
So I was blessed to be a part
That
of
one
coming
you
to
did.
a breakfast that morning. And so I come to the breakfast. I think it was at the Robert Tree.
Yes.
It was at the Robert Tree.
Robert Tree Hotel.
And then there was a big event at Prudential Arena as well. And I was blessed to be able to do one of the prayers
That's right.
at the Prudential Arena. And so someone said to me again, they were like, "Oh, you going down to pray with them?" I said, "Is something wrong with that?" They was like, no. A lot of times people say things because doors open for you. God opens doors for people to do things for God to get the glory. This is never about me.
Right.
Anything that I do is always for God to get the glory.
Right.
And if I start making it about what people allow me to do,
Right.
now I'm becoming selfish about it's about me. And the movement of peace starts with me is where it stops. It starts with me, but then it spreads abroad.
Right.
Okay, so if you can see that I'm trying to create peace, I'm trying to have peace, I'm trying to have the faith leaders come together, go to their congregations, talk about us working together
Yeah.
in harmony, which is an assignment because in the church is one of the places where people from the community focus and don't see it.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's we have a lot of discord in the church because
right.
people outside the church came into the church, and wherever they was outside, they brought it into the
Right.
church. So now the discord from what you had in the street or in the community,
Right.
if you're not delivered from it, if you're
Right.
not focused on peace,
Right.
if you're not focused on unity, if you're
Right.
not focused on harmony and being on one accord, then at the end of the day, you're causing a discord, and we're fighting to get to something which begins with us. A lot of times people have a lot of chaos going on in their own lives.
That's right.
So when people have a whole bunch of issues going on in their own lives, they need to be around people that tell them and help them understand, baby, I got problems too.
Yeah. But you
And-
got to be anchored. If you're anchored in your relationship with God.
with
and then,
God.
Right.
I got issues, but I'm not going to let my issues do me. I'm going to do them. So while I have issues, I feel that I can work through them better by the peace that begins with me.
Right.
So that I can deal with the people that I got the issues that have, I won't say I have issues with, that have issues with me or the way I walk. 2018 was a very good year for us. And then you do know that your movement blessed the city of Newark.
But tell me about that.
tremendously.
What happened after we...
Tremendously.
What happened?
Not only did we develop some great relationships, the truth of the matter is, during the holiday, I was offered volunteers to come to help us package food baskets.
I was there. I remember that.
You were there for
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
Yep. That was 2019. That was Thanksgiving
just
2019.
the year
right?
before the COVID hit.
Right.
So 17, the choir. 18, was
We
that
did
Prudential?
18, we did Nassau Coliseum.
Nassau Coliseum.
19, we did Prudential.
And 2019.
And it was December. It was the end of the year,
I
just
was
before
there.
the COVID.
I know exactly. It was December 28th. I remember the date.
Yeah. We had
December
a
28th.
big event in the Manhattan Center, and then we did the
Came
rally.
over. December 28th was the day, if I'm not mistaken.
It was December
It
28th
was the last.
and 9th. There was 2
Yeah,
days.
it was 2
a
days.
2 day. Yeah.
And the love and the work ethic of the young people that came to help us do what we did for the holiday season. I mean, they were working so hard. We were done in no time.
Yeah.
And we had like about 6,000 families.
We had to move truckloads of turkeys.
Yes.
Well, first of
But
all,
you know
God bless
what?
you guys for doing the
Well,
work.
wait a
We just
minute.
showed up.
You do know that you also helped with the contribution of turkeys to help us feed some
Yeah.
families. So we did about 7,000. We were able to do another 1,000 families
That's
because of Peace Starts With Me.
Well, we,
you know.
that's a Mother Moon gave all of that for you guys, and that's the least we can do. I mean, there's so many countries around the world. I just got back 3 years in Asia, going to places like, Cambodia, Thailand, Nepal, India, Central Asia.
Yes.
And we're doing the same kinds of things, working with people that care about making the world a better place, and especially those that can put God first.
Yes.
We have that common.
Yes.
But with people with so much less than we have.
Yes.
Honestly, people who might be here in the line to receive over there are in the line to give.
Yes.
And that gives you a whole nother perspective. So coming back to the US, I felt, I just came back. It's about a year ago.
We're so glad you're back. We're so glad.
Thank you.
We are excited that Demian is back.
Thank you, sweetheart.
We are I can't put the emphasis on so.
Okay, that's
so
you're gonna
glad.
get me emotion.
That you're back.
Thank you.
Because when you came back, you brought something with you. You brought the wisdom. You brought the relationships that were developed through your ministry of going to these areas and these different countries. You brought not just the peace, I should say, foundation that you created through the relationships and through the ministry and through whatever you were able to deliver to them. But they sent you back with deliverables because you gained some more knowledge.
I did. I gained something.
Some more understanding. And you didn't just gain it from one set of people. You gained it from a multiplicity.
My wife and our family is so blessed. And I've been telling all of our team, I say, don't welcome me back, welcome me forward. Because it really is. Don't think I'm the same person.
Yes, I'm going to use that, by the way. When people say welcome, I'm going to say, I'm not going to welcome you back. I'm welcoming you to go forward with that right there. That's cool. That's great.
We got to move forward. And I want to round tree back to this point later.
Yes.
But actually, so we'll get back to this. I do want to hear about, not only what impact the work we've already done has had in any good way possible, but also moving forward, what are the kind of things that we can do? I want to end there.
Yes.
But first, I want to go back to the beginning.
Yes.
You were born, where were you born?
I was born in the city of Newark. My parents were both ministers.
Your father was a pastor, and
he
your mom.
was.
So they were in the same church?
Yeah,
or?
well, so my mom started a church in 1959.
Wow.
Good Neighbor Cathedral. She bought a mansion over in the city of Newark.
Wow.
Cougar Scott Mansion.
She converted a mansion into a church?
No, there was a 500-seat auditorium attached to it that the Masons had built.
Wow.
So the mansion was owned by a beer baron.
Wow.
It was the most expensive house that was
so
built.
your parents had a foundation to
work
work with?
This was before my father. My mother had all of this before she married my dad.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So how did he catch her? How did Dad catch Mom?
He was 20 years younger.
Oh, my God. So she started She started in 1959.
She came to Newark in the late 30s. She started a ministry everywhere she was. She started going to church at Clinton AME, Clinton Memorial AME on Broadway. So she already had a spiritual foundation, but she wanted her own church. She was called to minister. So while starting a business of a cosmetology school for students, once she moved from Barclay Street, which is where her initial school was, she then opened up 8 salons and then moved to the mansion. I'll tell you that story. That's a long story of how she got the mansion.
She bought it? She inherited it?
No, she bought it. Inherited from what she didn't have any money.
Right.
She came here as a domestic, and she was cleaning houses.
So, how come these aren't the stories that are used to define what the American dream is?
That's exactly what I tell the young people.
Is always such a shallow.
She came
this
here
is
cleaning
amazing.
houses.
She
from
came
South Carolina,
as a domestic
worker.
She built up a business with multiple branches.
Yes.
And then bought a mansion.
And put her school in the
mansion.
mansion.
With a theater attached to it.
Yes.
So she's got the school, the house.
Yes.
She's living there.
Yes.
And is that where she started the church?
She also had a hotel. Yes. My mother was one of the first, she was the first African-American millionaire designated in the city of Newark.
Oh, bless you guys. Wow, that's amazing. And
we're
talking a millionaire back then is
back in
like
the 50s,
it's a real thing, not like today.
Late 40s, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did she have the same name?
Yes, I'm named after my mother.
You're named after your mother.
She's Louise Scott, and she married a Rountree. Rountree, yeah.
Wow.
She wanted a boy. so she could name him. She wanted a boy because she felt the boy would carry on. You know how men,
Yeah,
it's a
the
man
lineage.
thing.
But it turns out
I kept the name, even after I was married very briefly, but
you kept the name.
I kept the name.
I have to
Mother
say,
and my father's name.
I have to say, there's going to be a little bit of a tug at my heart when I have to see my daughter give away
Yeah, but a lot of women don't.
our name. Yeah.
There are women today that keep both names.
In some countries like
Do you
Korea,
know
they
there's a
keep their
preacher-
original name.
Wait a minute, do you know there's a pastor that had his name legally changed to his wife's name?
A pastor of
A
all people.
pastor. He said, one of the pastors of the historic church in Newark. So I kept saying, his name is Timothy Levi Atkins Jones. Atkins is her name. So he said if she's good enough to carry his name, he's good enough to carry hers.
Oh, that's good.
And he changed his name to her name.
That's
I kept his name too. So her
of
name
course,
is
if we do that
Atkins.
every generation, it's gonna sound like a Thai name. Have you ever heard of a Thai? Those names like Sanskrit, like 20 minutes to get through the name.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
All right, so take us back. So your dad's younger. Dad
Yes,
finds mom.
yes.
And don't let me skip over anything important.
It's a lot.
I'm
It's
sure,
a lot.
but we just want to know,
They married. He was Baptist. She was Pentecostal. Whoever so will let him come. They got together. He wanted a bigger building. She started subletting the
He wanted
auditorium.
a bigger building than a mansion.
No, what happened was she had started subletting the auditorium. And a couple of Jewish they had a reupholsterer store. And after the rebellion, they called my mother and said, look, we got this property. You want to buy it? Because they were trying to move out of Newark.
I see.
So she took over this property and she moved the church there and sublet the auditorium. So she had like a little mission on the corner. There was an ice cream parlor, the mission, and she had a store. She had a thrift shop. And so she moved the church there. So she married my father. He was like, I want another church. So they ended up finding the building on Chancellor Avenue, which I think you've been to, Good Neighbor on Chancellor.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the church they founded.
Wow.
together with my
Okay.
family.
Did you ever see them
See
growing
who?
up? Your parents.
Yeah, because they made me work. I didn't have a regular childhood.
That's what I was thinking.
I never
the
had a
only
regular
way you're
childhood.
going to be seeing your parents is
As
if you're
I'm
in
with
on the
them.
game.
So my mother started teaching me how to answer her switchboard when I was 4 or 5, as soon as I could speak. My father used to think it was a form of child abuse. He says, I don't know whether it's good for you to have this kid around a hotel. And so my work ethic is over the top. People wonder now, when do you sleep? How do you work? I really got this from my mom without even trying to get it from my mom.
Wow.
When I stopped working, when I had my son,
Sorry, I got to put a flag there because there's a lot of people that work hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the fact that apart from whatever she passed down to you in the DNA,
Right.
I think it's also the fact that she invited you in.
Yes.
There's a lot of hardworking parents,
But I
don't
didn't
bother
wanna be
me,
invited
don't
in.
bother me.
I
It's
didn't
like,
want- wait a
but
minute.
you were.
Well, she did that in the kitchen. So let me say this.
Okay.
So when she was
she
cooking,
didn't teach you how to cook.
I watched her, so I ended up with the gift on the sneak tip. But she didn't want nobody bothering her because she had to get through. My mother could cook a full course meal in less than 2 hours. You'd have a vegetable, starch, a meat,
And she's not taking phone calls at the same time.
well,
She's focused.
No, because in the kitchen there was no phone.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's not like
And that was only like my father would preach. A lot of times we would go out to eat, but then sometimes she would have something prepared and we would eat right after church, go home and eat, and then maybe he'd go, because he had another job too, he was doing security work. Oh, Lord.
Do you have siblings?
None.
So just you, and you're
By the
spending
2 of them.
And you're spending
now,
a
my
little.
father has another son that he
Okay.
had after my mom passed, because my mother passed when I was 21.
Oh no.
Yeah. But my dad just passed 2 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well,
so he got
after I
to
left.
see me. Yes, he got to see me become successful. My mother was
Absolutely, he
concerned.
did.
Yes,
So that was your mother's, dying concern.
someone said that when she had her stroke, before she had her stroke, going into the hospital for surgery, that she said, I'm just worried about my daughter. Not knowing she wasn't going to wake up.
I see. So that was one of her
That
last.
was she said it to one of my cousins.
was one of the last things she said.
Mm-hmm.
And so what were you doing at that time?
Anything I wanted.
I see.
In the school, I just wasn't doing everything I could have done because I was young. She had worked, by the time I was 21, I had worked more than some people had worked by the time they were 30. Because I started so young.
You had work ethic, you had experience.
Yeah, and I just was tired, so I just started the things I couldn't do as a kid.
Right, I get
as a
it.
young person, as soon as I got introduced to having fun,
Right,
it was just going to the club.
Yeah.
It was like, this is it. I'd come in tired.
Yeah.
I still would do hair on Saturdays with her because she would do her special customers on a Saturday. She I normally don't tell the story. We're trusting the wrong people. Caused her to lose all of that stuff. The hotel caught on fire while I was in private school. My father told her, don't worry, just take the insurance. But the hotel was what kept the school afloat because at that time we didn't have accreditation. They didn't have government loans and all of that. So by the time, and then family did her, man. People she trusted, she had contracts with. They were mad because she married this young man. So it's a lot to this story.
God.
And the mansion was the last to go.
Caught on fire, you said?
No, the mansion in the hotel did.
The hotel
caught on fire when I was like 13. The mansion in 1982, I released it because I didn't get proper guidance. I didn't speak to a lawyer. There was about $20,000 worth of taxes, which is really no money.
Some lien on it that you thought the only way you could get out was...
I could have got out of all of that. I just didn't get the proper direction, proper advice.
How old were you when this was going down?
22.
Oh, you're a kid.
But I knew enough. My mother had me in the business all my life. But let's not harbor too much on that.
Well, you're talking about mom wanting you to be successful.
2019.
Yeah.
I started the Newark Scots Cultural and Civic Foundation.
When? 2019?
2019, because someone came along in 2000, and 2019, no, 1990s. Me and Sharp James had a program, and they were going to renovate the property because now it had been vacant for about 8 years. The person that running it had a little problem with. Because everybody's running after money using the name.
I see.
And I was concerned. And people coming after me. I had no money. They were like this millionaire, heir to the estate. They thought I had millions hid somewhere. Mother didn't really leave anything.
Right. She had a big name.
Right now, my social equity is worth more because of what I can bring and what I do and what I offer. And I don't, people play you down and I don't say anything because I'm not arrogant. I don't believe nobody owes me anything. Everything I don't have is not because I couldn't have it. It's because mentally I was always made to work and help other people because that's all I ever saw. I only saw them helping everybody.
I see.
And in the interim, I had responsibilities.
Right.
But I never saw my mother clean a toilet. I never saw some of the things she had to go through. So all I saw was work. So that's embedded in me to work. What's at the end of the work? There's benefits. Why did I never think about starting a business? Why did I never think about... So I have an opportunity now to reopen her shop in her name.
Wow.
In the same mansion.
In the same place.
So my son is supposed to do it because...
So when did you get the property back?
I never did. The developer's working with me that owns it.
And you started the foundation. So I feel like...
So what happened was, my lawyer told me, because now I'm talking to a lawyer.
Yeah.
And this guy's trying to buy it. And because the people in 2009, in the 1990s, it didn't go through. They never finished it.
Oh.
So it ended up sitting vacant another 10, 15 years.
They put some money into it?
The city did millions.
Oh, really?
State, everybody here.
Yeah.
So there was no development the city because I figured when I released it to the city, it would turn into a museum. It would be there for tourists. It would be there for programming. This guy comes along named Malvitelius. And at first we worked talking together, and then somebody told him, well, she's with the city, you don't have to. But this is my legacy.
Yeah, it's
my
a
mom's
legacy
house.
thing. Yeah.
So yeah, even though I'm there, I can't vote and do it. I'm the council person.
Right.
But this is my family.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to just buy the mansion my mother lived in? I'm still living.
Mm-hmm.
That she occupied for 30 years, and you're going,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to tell me and keep me out the loop? So I just kept getting involved. Now he and I, matter of fact, on next Saturday, and we're really behind in the work on this because I created a foundation. One of the ladies that's on the foundation got another major deal through me. She got another job, another assignment. She already had a big business of her own.
No, she's
she
doing
said
well.
For 2 years, she said, for 2 years, I'm going to be your vice president. My son's a president. And he had some things because you're as good as the people you have working for you as a leader.
Sure.
He was not
up to it.
Not there, so she was like the backup as the vice.
I see.
Then when she had to, and I knew she was leaving, so it sort of fell like on me and my cousin, my father's brother's niece. I have a brother by my dad that's in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And he's married and so forth and just had a baby. So it's really like on me. So we're having a luncheon. I gave out, I think, $3,500 in scholarships last year. I gave out an entrepreneur award in honor of my mom, a theological award in honor of my dad, and I gave 4 students book awards of $500 each. And I'm doing that again this year on next Saturday.
What did that feel like for you?
It feels like I'm keeping my mom's name alive for the work that she did because it's something that does not happen in the African-American community often.
Yeah.
Rockefeller's name is still going on. Keene's name is still going on.
Right.
But who do you hear anybody talking about? Langston Hughes is in the library. But Adam Clayton Powell, who was a political person, it was a pastor. So you can read about these things, the little stories they tell about them. But where are the people that were the offspring of Black Wall Street?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where are these individuals at?
That's a beautiful thing, though, then. Yeah.
So I'm working hard, and it's a little difficult because I do so much for the city. Then I have the mayor that I support 1,000%.
Supporting the mayor. Yep.
And now we have a woman running for Congress, and I'm trying to work with her. And people keep saying to me, Demian, where is the opportunism in your blood? You don't have an ounce of opportunism.
You're not thinking for yourself.
And it's not that. There are people out here.
You could be doing leveraging all kind of things.
But my cousin said to me, she says, you're so busy giving.
Yeah.
You're not going to have anything shortly. When are you going to put your thing together so you can be giving too?
Right.
And it's like, and I got to do it, but when I look around, I also don't want to be in the middle of 5 other people doing things, and now they got to choose what they're going to do, who they're going to do for. I believe that God's going to bless me.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that if I continue to work with groups such as you and people that are sincere about helping people, that God will send what I need
when you need
in God's time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I do have people saying to me, "But you got to move too," because I'm not. I'm looking to move. I've been looking to move for 2 years and haven't moved yet. I'm talking about just move, really move.
Yeah.
So.
So you're how much? Tell me if you would then, because clearly there's so much that you're invested in that's connected to your parents, your mother, and keeping that legacy or kind of putting substance back to that legacy that you may feel like it was stripped away from mom. And maybe
it wasn't stripped away, she gave it.
But you know what I'm saying? These forces at play.
Yep.
They weren't favorable. They weren't supporting.
That's right.
Similar to what you were facing.
That's right.
When you needed help.
That's right.
And now you've grown up to be that help.
Yes.
Be that help for others.
Yes.
And kind of retrofix what it is you feel your mother may have been crying about.
Yep. But I'm fixing it for everybody
you're fixing
else.
It, and you're doing it for everybody else.
It's once I set my mind to do something that God has given me to do, that becomes my sole focus. Not focusing on, not abandoning anything else. But if I'm given an assignment,
you charge for it.
It's like, let me go ahead and deal with this, take care of this. When I leave here, I got to go and finish. Somebody wants me to come to an event at another hotel, just because I'm in New York. I don't think I'm going to do it because I really need to get back to Jersey to finish the program. So someone said, I got somebody that can help you do that. I said, no, you can't put the program in order. You can't put who I'm going to have pray, who I'm going to have sing for my mother's legacy brunch because I know who I want.
It's not about just that it happens.
Yeah.
You're an owner of the thing.
Yeah,
You're
so
really...
you could help. They think I needed somebody to do the printing. They were like, I can get that done. You don't have to do that. I was like, no, the print
It's
job
more than
we
that.
got.
Yeah,
I just got to get the program together.
Yeah.
And the event is next Saturday. So we're a little behind time, with me reaching out to some of the sponsors. But I told my foundation, and I'm just a founder. I'm not voting.
Are we talking about the foundation?
The foundation, the Newark Scots Cultural and Civic Foundation.
Again, the name?
The Newark Scott Cultural and Civic Foundation. And the reason I chose that name is because the mansion was named the Scots Cultural and Civic Center.
Oh, in your mom's time.
In my mom's time, she had a name on this Scots Cultural and Civic Center.
And you added Newark.
I put Newark Scots Cultural and Civic Foundation for the foundation.
But you've given it to Newark.
Yes. So the mansion, the developer is doing some great things there. When he spoke to me, he says, what I want to do, he says, is create business owners that can live where they work. My mother had a place to sleep wherever she had a business. At the hotel, she had a little suite area in the back.
I've seen those kind of things.
She even had a hair station at the hotel. That if she happened to be there, so I need to head
She had a client come in, she'd be able to cover it all at the same time. Wow.
And then, of course, we lived at the mansion. I got to take you on a tour of the mansion.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
It's Martin Luther King Boulevard.
Is there anywhere we can read up about it online?
Sure, Godfrey Kruger. Everything you read is not accurate about my mom's stories because they said they took the property.
What about the foundation? Is there a web address? The foundation,
just, you know what? I'll show you some stuff.
We'll put it up.
Yep.
So I'm hearing you. You said you mentioned your mom was a first. I mean, she was a first, but you're also a first in a few things, right?
So I'm the first woman to ever be appointed to manager of clergy affairs for the city of Newark and the mayor's administration. I worked under 4 mayors. None of them relieved me of my duties. They all gave me new duties. But this is the first mayor that put me in a... and I didn't ask for this. I didn't get up one day, Demian, and say, this is what I want to do. That's not what I did. I got up one day and was told, this is your assignment.
This new one? The council?
No, that's another.
Okay.
Didn't wake up and say I wanted to do that either. To be honest with you, because I saw my mom and dad hurt so bad with church, and I knew politics was a little
what can happen.
messy, I was like, I don't want nothing to do with any of those things. All my life, up until I was, I guess, in my 30s, I was like, I don't want nothing to do with funerals. After my mother died, I didn't want nothing. Well, that was right after I didn't want nothing to do with church people because my father was hurt tremendously by our church family.
Yeah, it can happen.
I mean, tremendously, to the point where he left. I didn't want anything to do with government because I had a bad experience hearing some things when I was like 18. So I stayed in corporate.
Okay.
I worked in a furniture store as a manager.
Okay.
I worked for a lawyer.
Okay. And it was safe there?
I didn't have to just go to work, get my check, and go home. However, my pastor, which is the third pastor in Good Neighbor after my dad, church, my father's 53 years old this year in October.
So you were still going to church?
I never stopped. I stopped going to church when I had my son for a minute. But I never left Good Neighbor. Now I'm in 50,000 churches a week. I was in church last night with the gentleman who's running for National Baptist, one of the candidates for the National Baptist Convention, Pastor Tellis Chapman. I heard him. He came to Newark. But I do, watch this, I need to do that just for my spirit.
Well, I was going to ask you in all of this, where do you find, is there a space you have? Where do you go, for peace, a moment with God? When
I'm alone is my space and my time with God. I always look at it as God is always with me.
But you're always with people.
But I'm always with people. So when I'm not with people, is my real, so I could be driving. And at one point they were saying, well.
Yeah, driving's a great, actually,
it's
in the
really
car.
good therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So someone said, because my son drove me for the first year and a half of and then he started getting a little grief-stricken behind funerals. I sometimes I do.
So he was driving you to funerals?
He's driving me all day, every day, from morning to night.
My God.
And sometimes my days were 16 hours. But
it affected him.
It really affected him because.
So then you start driving yourself, but now
I
you
have
got
other
alone
people that want to drive me, but I don't want them to. Now I have someone that I just hired.
Mm-hmm. But take me back. So you're still, you never gave up going to church.
Never gave up going to church.
You're in corporate. It's safe.
I stopped going to church after my son was born, but when I started going back again, I went back home.
Okay.
And I didn't go back home because it was my mother and father's church. Mm-hmm. I went back home because God directed me there because all of what happened to my dad, I had no desire to hold any leadership positions in the church.
Right.
Especially the one my father.
You're still defending against that.
I didn't want nothing to do with it. I just wanted to go to church and get the word.
But here you are.
And sing.
You are now
I'm the assistant. I'm the director of church-wide affairs for the church my mom and dad founded.
Amazing. So what was the moment? What can you tell us?
What turned the ministry around?
What was in your heart? What was that moment?
It wasn't like that. People, I hear people tell stories all the time about how God just.
There was a moment or something.
This is how the moment went. God was using me
already,
and I didn't. I guess God had to do it that way because if I had planned this, it would have never, ever happened.
You were a little bit stubborn on certain things.
I just didn't want it.
You knew what you didn't want.
I just didn't bother. This is
you wouldn't even be praying about it.
I would just be living.
Somehow it creeped up on you. How did that happen?
Sort of. So with the church, I went to my aunt because one of the women in church said the church anniversary is coming up.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like the 30th or something, 30 something. She says, why don't you be the chair? I said, it's May. The church anniversary is in October. I said, I'll help you guys.
Like a short-term project.
No, it's not short-term. It's a major event, the church anniversary.
Well, but there's a beginning and an end.
And then, so we start maybe about March planning. There's several events that we do throughout the year to reach a goal. So I said, well, maybe I'll help whoever's doing it. So I looked at the calendar after we left the meeting. I called my aunt, my father's sister, which is also deceased now. And I said, Aunt Doris, they want me to chair the church anniversary. She was like, just don't bother. Well, at that time, they had some demons that they were dealing with because of some things that happened with my dad. Mm-hmm. So they were probably trying to release and keep out the power of what I had. So I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and help. So I started planning things. So I went to the pastor and I said, listen, what I need from you is to find a chair for the church anniversary because I'm going to help. So you're
not going to be number one.
So he says, so what have you already done? I said, I've planned the revival. And he says, then you're the chair and that's it. So that was my beginning into the ministry.
That's where you've been in there ever since.
I just took off.
This episode of the Peace Starts With Me podcast is brought to you by our merch store. Check it out at peacestartswithme.com/collections. We have apparel and accessories for the whole family, including backpacks, pins, aprons, shirts, baby onesies and bibs, and more. Show your support and go to peacestartswithme.com/collections.
While you're talking to me about me and while you're talking to me about ministry
and peace
and peace, like Mother Moon is not Newark. She's not South Carolina. She's worldwide. With this mission.
Bro.
And in order, since Facebook Live and all of these other social media platforms are available, along with where we travel to spread this work is being done everywhere. How it's affected Newark is one thing. How it's impacted Newark, because you started out this conversation with my hometown. But then I have other areas of the community. Listen, Newark, Irvington, East Orange, and Orange are all connected. But then you go down to Asbury Park, or you go down to Atlantic City, or you go over to New York, or you go across the country to California. This mission of peace is beyond where we are.
All right, well, tell me about it.
So when I thought about the conversation that we had pertaining to Mother Moon and the Peace Starts With Me movement,
Yes.
when I look at the people that are involved, the nationalities, the different nationalities, one thing is for certain and two things are for sure. The Bible declares not only that the earth is the Lord's and all they that dwell therein, but there's also somewhere in that written script, in that biblical script, that we were created in God's image.
Correct.
And if all of us are created in God's image, it does not matter what part of the world we're from. It does not matter where this message already is. It's already in Korea. It's already in Hong Kong. It's already in China. It's already in South Dakota. It's already in Kentucky. It's already all over the world. So if it's, and this isn't, when I said the earth is the Lord's, that means the whole world is consistent of the earth. It does not mean that the earth is the Lord's and only New Jersey with the good soil.
Of course.
It does not mean only in North Carolina, you know. It does not mean Virginia, where it has the longest bridge, they say, that runs from Chesapeake, whatever that is. I don't know if it is or not.
Okay.
But it does
That's
not
what
mean.
they say.
That's what they say.
Okay.
And I don't listen today because I would never try to measure it.
Wouldn't have
'cause
gotten
I'm
very
not gonna
far if
walk.
we only listened today.
Listen, I'm not going to walk across the bridge to get
To
the
check it
measurements.
out. Okay.
But the truth is, this ministry of peace that the Peace Starts With Me movement has created, has started, has initiated, has worked so fervently, so tremendously. So this movement is a movement. I tell people, if you don't get excited about something, you can forget somebody you're sitting in front being excited. You can, if I'm sitting in front of you and I'm not excited about peace,
Right.
then you're going to say, if I'm like, your peace is good, but if you're like, you got to, this is good.
And it's contagious.
Damian's back.
It's
this is good.
So,
let me calm down.
It's okay. You're starting to convince me now.
Yes, sir.
So what's the word on the street? On the world street? I don't know how far your streets extend.
My streets extend further, beyond
the oceans?
City of Newark, yeah.
Beyond Newark, for sure.
From one side to the other.
So
if
what's
we
the
just
word?
go from one end of New Jersey to the other, as a matter of fact, and I was saying earlier about some things that are going on with different countries.
Yeah.
With them having issues with how to create peace.
Yeah. I'm feeling called to explain something to you with regard to our global attention. Because Mother Moon has spoken a lot, as did Father Moon before her, about the symbolic and the very substantial and yet sort of historical, even providential story that's playing out on the peninsula of Korea, similar in the ways that we would look at East and West Germany before.
Yes.
Now between, we can say communism and democracy. There's not a democracy on the planet that's really working as it was intended, and yet it doesn't exclude God.
Right.
Communism, maybe it's got ideas in there about, humanity, but there's no God allowed in that picture.
No God.
So you got God and no
missing.
God, and without God, where's the love going to come
There is no
from?
love.
So it's not to say, right, that the South is perfect and nothing, but you've got this story playing out on the Korean Peninsula, which is really also a story of a family that's been torn in two.
Yes.
I know so many people who's literally, it was their grandparents, their family torn in two. You can see videos of people, and people can do their own research, but you can see videos of people in tears meeting, like they had these cross-border exchanges a little while back. We were involved in helping set that up, where people that hadn't seen each other in 50, 60 years, brothers, sisters, cousins,
Wow.
even parents and children, because that scar.
Yes.
Okay, that's a ceasefire.
Yes.
That's not
Absolutely.
peace.
That's right.
It's a broken family,
That's
but it's
right.
more than that. There's a lot of us around the world. We don't know Korea. Where's Korea?
Yes.
Well, Korea's making a name for itself
That's right.
now.
That's right.
But it is
Prior-
also a story playing out between for God and not for God. And it doesn't mean the South has to trample into the North.
Right.
But there's got to be
common-
an idea that's higher than both.
Right.
And,
That's right.
it's got to have something to do
That's
with
right.
God. Now,
That's
I tell you
right.
this.
That's right.
I'm telling you, I foresee that in her lifetime, she's 81 years old.
Yes.
But Mother Moon, the Mother of Peace,
Yes.
it is quite possible that she could be the ambassador for peace of that reunification, the Queen of Peace.
Yes.
For that, who's it going to be? The American president? What?
Yeah.
The Chinese president? Japan? Who's
Yeah.
whose idea is high enough such that every player,
Yes.
those against
Yes.
one another, can
Yes.
see their fruition, their fulfillment up there, including the North, including the dictators.
Right.
You know what Father Moon
Right.
said about the dictators of the world? He said, you can't make peace with a dictator with the aim to imprison or shoot them.
Yes.
Even they
That's
have to
right.
find their salvation.
That's
Even they
right.
have to know that coming to the table of peace
Absolutely.
is in their interest.
Absolutely.
In other words, think of it this way. The North Korean people, if we could unify the peninsula, the North Korean people should be proud of their
Yes.
leader, that whatever he had to
Yes.
do to bring that about. I
Yes.
don't see anybody else on the planet.
Yes.
Other than this woman leader, the
Yes.
greatest woman peace leader on the planet
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
Being able to do that. But you know what?
She can't do it alone.
You mentioned
We gotta
something
help
at the
her.
beginning of this conversation it was really about fear.
Yes.
Because you mentioned,
Yes.
what is it about these people
That's
throughout
right.
human history
That's right.
that have come to bring
That's
something
right.
but have
That's
been
right.
pushed back?
Absolutely.
It's territorial,
It's
it's jealousy, it's
All
fear.
of that.
It's
All of
fear.
that.
How many times does it say,
All
have
of
no
that.
fear in the Bible?
That's right.
But here we are, even the people who have money, who have
Yes,
power,
that's right.
they're prepared to
Yes.
contribute to this.
Yes.
But in her own country,
Yes.
what do they say about prophets in their own
They're not
hometown?
recognized.
So this is what we're dealing
That's
with.
right.
Reverend,
Yes.
in Korea, for a mother to stand with a president of another country
Yes.
and just to shake hands,
Yes.
to stand with a governor
Yes.
of any state in America, to have a
Yes.
meal, to sit down, to be recognized.
Yes.
Do you know what that means to the naysayers
Yeah.
on the peninsula? They
Yeah.
go, oh, wait,
Yep.
we've put her in this box.
That's right.
But
That's
maybe
right.
maybe there's
That's right.
and you know what? It's ironically, it's the so-called God-fearing
Yes.
people that are causing the greatest obstacle for God.
Well, that's because,
and that's not the first
but
time.
that's not new. That's
not
from
new.
the beginning of time. There was always division. We could talk about Moses and Pharaoh. We could
Always.
talk about Cain and Abel. Let's go all the way back to where a brother killed a brother. Division didn't just come. Murder didn't just come. Hunger did not just come. But the Peace Starts With You movement is doing so much to try to fill in all those areas throughout the world. I keep saying world
That's right.
because this is a worldly ministry, and I don't mean worldly
I'm
in
telling
that
you, the
sense.
people I met in Asia, I mean,
Unbelievable.
people with nothing. Let me tell you
Unbelievable.
this. I'll tell you a real short story. When I got there was a mentality among our leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're talking about, if you're lucky, you've got a like $500 a month salary. Wow. And it's not like gas is any cheaper in Nepal.
That's right.
Think about it. We're all like,
That's
it
right.
doesn't cost anything to live there. Well, gas is more expensive.
Yes.
Actually, it's cheaper here.
Right.
So,
It's cheaper here because you make more money here.
no,
In
gas
five-
is cheaper
Oh,
per
really?
gallon here, of course.
Oh, wow.
And we make our own. We buy it,
Yep.
but we make our own.
Yep.
We make our own energy.
That's right.
Most of these countries, some of them double landlocked countries, they're not, all of Central Asia has so much gas, but they don't know how to refine it.
Yeah.
It all gets refined by Russia. And then they sell it back
Send it back.
at
Yes,
a premium.
yes.
So when you meet, I told you about those who might be in the receiving line here,
Right.
are in the giving line
Right,
over there.
Right.
Within days of my new assignment, it was lockdown. I was in Jersey, and within days of my new assignment to be sent to Asia, to places I'd never been to, and I'm trying to think how to move my family out there, I fell to my knees in tears when I started to hear about the very simple problems that they're dealing with that we're complacent about here. So I asked I did the craziest thing. I asked all of these leaders and families and all of those in the movement out there, I know you've got nothing, but would you give a donation? Would you give a gift to Mother? And they had never been asked to do like that before. Many of them said, I didn't even know we can give a gift.
Wow.
And we only raised like $90,000. We did it every year. The next was 130.
Right.
But this was such huge money for the people that were giving. There was stories like this one young boy, he was 4 years old. He broke his piggy bank. There was like $13 in change from his grandparents. He was in India. And he broke his little clay piggy bank and he gave all of that money, his life savings, as a gift. And when Mother heard about that, she was so overjoyed. She gave untold blessing back to the community. That's not even a question.
Yes.
But what we taught them, what they learned from God was, even when we have nothing, if we give for God's sake, for the sake of world peace, we will, and it's not even about expectation, but they, oh my God. And this is me in Asia.
That's what I was just saying earlier about the opportunism.
Right, that's what they don't see in you, so you're clean.
Yeah, so, and that's amazing because opportunity and opportunism is two different things.
Right.
The little boy saw an opportunity to be a blessing.
Right.
And as a result of that, that country was blessed. That community was blessed by Mother Moon.
But without agenda.
He wasn't doing it without agenda.
Yeah.
Knowing if I do this, what is she going to get? What are they going to do?
No calculation.
None. And that's the way. If we
all did that,
you would have no problem with the peace. But you know that there's problems with anything that we set out to do. God's agenda is God's agenda, and regardless of whether we carry it out or not personally, God's agenda will be carried out.
That's right.
God's going to use Mother Moon.
And
God's going to use Demian throughout this world. Reverend Rountree.
That's
right.
And if we can, so if we trust in God, and if we raise one another up, and if we, I keep giving the analogy of a conductor recently, and I have the crowd sing a note. I say, pick your favorite note, and everybody in your head pick it, and then you got 500 people singing their own favorite note.
Okay.
I say, you're singing, but this ain't music.
That's right.
And then I divide them up and I do a chord.
Wow.
And I say, that's music.
Okay.
What's the difference? You have a conductor. And there's always been a conductor that God sends to a place, to a people, to a time.
Yes.
And like you said, there's a lot of naysayers and people don't like change makers.
That, but
if you invest in that central people, that central person,
that's right.
every boat rises.
Eventually. It's amazing.
I loved the work we did together because, we got our own churches and we got our own things and we got our own. But going and meeting the community.
Yes.
I've told so many bishops and pastors, I said, look, if God tells me to follow you and like just be your member or be, I'm here because this is a real experience.
Absolutely.
And so, you think of that Jacob and Esau story. You're talking about Cain and Abel.
That's right.
But there's also, Joshua and Caleb. There's successful brother stories.
There's a lot of successful.
And it's when you're looking at each other's victory.
That's right. That's right.
Isn't it going to be, if it's good for God, it's good for me.
It's good for me. That's right. That's absolutely right. Awesome.
Well, I'm looking forward. So what can we, this isn't a planning meeting, but what do you see as the possibility in the area, across the country?
So you're already covering.
I'm back.
You're back. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a strategy and we're going to set up a plan. And I'm going to figure out, because I could come up with like a multiplicity of things that we could come together and do. But anything that's going to be successful needs to be properly organized.
Yep.
And a lot of times people come up with ideas. Implementing it is the next thing.
Yep.
But before you can implement it, it has to be organized. And a lot of folks come up with plans and jump right into trying to implement it and miss the organization piece.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, well, why did this fall apart like that?
Like goal, strategies, but then you need the infrastructure that's going to carry the strategy.
Exactly. And then you go ahead and you implement what the organized plan is, which should be in place. You're already well organized.
So you're also skilled in this area?
Well, I'm going to put this is what I'm going to say. I'm an organizer.
Mm-hmm.
I tell the faith leaders and other individuals, every leader is not an organizer.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That does not mean you're any less of a leader.
That's true.
You can be a great leader.
But you might fall flat
but
if you don't have an organizer.
No, but if you've got the right person next to you.
Exactly.
So, case in point, you couldn't organize a 2,000 choir worldwide.
No.
Right?
Well, I might be able to bring 2,000 people, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make them sing and show up on time.
All of that.
No
right?
way.
So you need, and the organizer has to be consistent for it to be successful.
Yes.
So, and persistent
yes.
and persevere.
Yes.
So you need one person with all those qualities.
And those qualities precede you. People already have the trust in you.
They're like, okay, you know what? I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, because they know
already.
And
then the excitement.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there's no excitement in what you're trying to get people to participate in worldwide, especially, they had an event at Prudential with 5,000 students recently.
Okay.
They were from Ukraine.
Oh,
they
wow.
used 200 children from Newark. And they had a little music ministry.
They flew 5,000 students?
I don't know how they got here. I just got a phone call to come down and see them. And I recorded a little bit. But it takes organization for there to be 2,000 people in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, boy.
Grown people.
Yeah.
Children, you can work with a little bit as long as your parents get them there. Adults are a whole different,
And I hear everything's tougher since COVID. Is that true?
Everything's tougher.
Oh, the churches are struggling to fill the pews.
People go where they want to go.
Yeah.
I tell them all the time, I see you on the plane, I see you in the movies.
You can still
don't
walk.
Want to come to church.
You can still. So what are they doing? Are they watching online or are they?
Some are. There's a lot of people that have come back. There's some churches. I've traveled to some churches in the city of Newark and out of the city. I went to a church after COVID in North Carolina. And we might need to reach out to this pastor too.
Okay.
But I went down there and there was so many people in there. Of course, they found me a seat, but there was only wall space. This was like last year. I went to a church in New Brunswick.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm hearing it's the churches with choirs doing better than the churches that don't have choirs.
Well, some churches have choirs and some churches have replaced choirs
with worship.
With praise teams.
Mm-hmm.
Worship teams.
Praise teams. Praise and worship.
But we got to give God glory.
In every which way we can.
With Mother Moon. And for this worldwide work that you're doing. And for the ministry that has been going on and on and on.
Thank you,
for
Reverend.
years. It didn't just start in 2017.
No, it didn't.
This started before you got here.
Decades.
And we are just excited about the worldwide ministry of Peace Starts With Me Now.
Amen.
And as it continues to grow, then we know the earth, as we stated, is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Maybe we can shift this thing as we all come together with the work that's already being implemented and with organized. You already have the template. It's already set. We're already a part of it.
Yeah.
We need to do more. We need to get more people encouraged.
Yes.
We need to get more people, excited.
Amen.
And not talk about what can I do. It's what I'm going to do.
What will I do?
And what I'm going to do.
What I will do.
Based on the foundation that's already there.
Thank you, Reverend.
And thank you. Thank you. And thank Mother Moon for being who you are to the people of God, for the people of God, for those that are less fortunate. Thank you throughout this world, from one end of the continent to the other, from the top to the bottom. We thank you, Mother Moon, and the Peace Starts With Me movement for doing all you do to help the people of God.
Thank you so much.
And once again, thank you, Damian.
Thank you,
for coming back.